Welcome to Farm to Family Cooking Series. My name is Gil Rodriguez. I'm a chef instructor at Skagit Valley College. Welcome to Farm to Family Cooking. Today we will be making some roasted vegetables. This will be a great side dish, and you can eat these vegetables hot or cold. I prefer them cold. Anytime that you're cooking roasted vegetables, most people would cut all the different vegetables and put them in a tray and bake them off, and then some of the potatoes or the harder vegetables are undercooked, and then some of the other vegetables like the onions are overcooked. And today we're going to cook them and separate them into their categories so they can cook evenly, and we can pull them one at a time off of the tray, and then we should be a lot more successful when we're doing this. And then we're going to mix them all together in a bowl, and you could either serve immediately or you can cool them down and save them for kind of a cold root vegetable salad or a hard vegetable salad. We're going to use today some garlic. I have a head of garlic here, an onion. We have some baby carrots. We have some potatoes. These are new potatoes, a leek, and a zucchini or a squash. And this yellow squash is the only thing that is not going to go in the oven. We're going to leave it raw and then add it at the end. First, we're going to start with the potatoes. These are beautiful new potatoes. I always think about the harder the vegetable, the smaller I like to cut it. And the idea is to even out the cooking times in between the soft vegetables, which will be, in this case, the leek and the onion, to the harder vegetables, which are the potato and the carrot. Okay? For these potatoes, you can either do rounds or half moons or squares. It's kind of up to you. Important thing about when you're cutting round vegetables is to always cut a flat side so you can stand the vegetable up or have it in a way that it's not going to keep rolling around your board and hurt you. Okay? So I'm going to cut some squares here. They're not going to be very large. They're about 3/4 inch squares, somewhere in there. And I'm just going to cut slabs down and then turn this around. And I'm just going to cut that potato in thirds. I'll do the same here. And then I'm going to turn it around and cut it in thirds one more time. Okay? Just like that. And we'll do the same with the next one. Always remember a flat spot. That's the most important part. That way you don't hurt yourself. And then we're going to go in thirds. And flip them over in thirds. And in thirds one more time. There we go. You'll end up with the squares like so. We're going to add these guys to the bowl. And thing that always, when people ask me about cooking potatoes and how they end up somewhat dry, most people don't add enough oil to them. All vegetables all together, you want to make sure that you have enough oil in the bowl to toss them, and then there should be some oil in the bottom. And the goal is that you actually toss them and then pull them off of the bowl and not just drain the bowl onto your tray. Okay? And so I'm going to add some salt to this, some pepper, and I'm going high up so I give enough room for the salt and the pepper to separate so you don't have big clumps of salt and pepper. When you're seasoning, you always want to do that. And then with your hands, just give them a quick toss until they're well coated. Okay? Here I have pieces of aluminum foil that we're going to use to separate the vegetables. So I'm just going to take these potatoes off of this bowl, and notice that I'm not actually dumping the bowl in here. And we should have some oil left over in the bowl for the next vegetable. Right? And I'm going to try to keep the potatoes in a single layer as much as possible. What that does is it lets them cook even, but it also helps them get crunchy in the outside. And then I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a border here so they don't fall off of this piece of foil. And then when they're ready, we should be able to pull them out just by grabbing the bag or the foil like so off of our tray. Okay. Our next vegetable will be the carrots. Okay, and I have the carrots right here. These baby carrots are beautiful, and I'm not even going to peel them. I don't think they require that. If you have a bigger carrot and you see that the skin starts turning a little bit of brown, then yes, I would peel the carrots, but these baby carrots are perfect here for just using with the skin on. Okay, I'm just gonna trim the end off of them and the tops off of them, and then I'm just gonna cut small rounds. You don't have to cut all of them at the same time. You can cut them one at a time if you rather do that. But I'm going to try to go about the same size that I did the potato, and you can just take a piece of potato and put it right there so you can kind of look at it and see if they're about the same size. Okay, or like so. And we'll go through the same procedure where we take the carrots, we put them in the bowl, a little bit of oil, and then we season them, salt and pepper, and then we toss them. I have another piece of foil here. We'll take that. Right there. And then we bend the foil just like we did with the other with the potatoes. And we call it good. We have two ready. All right. Now we have the leek and the onion. A leek is also an onion. This comes from the Middle East, and they like growing in a sandy soil. We have them here in the valley, and we grow great leeks. Usually the edible part of the leek is the white part and the light green part. That does not mean that the dark green part cannot be used. It could be used for stocks, soups, something of that that is going to go in a broth. But know that they'll provide great flavor, but then you would just take them out and not eat them because they're a little stringy, okay? And then always make sure that you cut the leek in half from the root end over, and then wash them well, okay? If you look in here, see they're a little bit dirty, so we gotta wash these guys. All right, we got our leek nice and clean, and notice that it's cut about halfway, and now we're going to cut some slices out of this, like so, about 1 inch thick. So they're a little bit bigger than the potato and the carrot, okay? We're gonna cut all the way to the bottom. We're gonna add these guys to the bowl. And at the same time, we're going to add a half an onion to this. And for the onion, same thing. Just make sure that you have a flat spot. Cut the onion in half. Get it nice and peeled. And then cut slices about 1 inch thick. And then we're also going to toss these in the oil. I feel like I have enough oil in the bowl from the previous two, so a little bit of salt, a bit of pepper, and then toss these vegetables, and they're gonna go into another piece of foil. There we go. Turn it a little bit like so. And in the tray they go. Now we have one last thing, and it's the garlic, and I have a whole head of garlic here. And all we're going to do is cut the head of garlic in half, okay? I'm going to try as much as possible not to break it apart. Cut it in half, put it on the foil, and right on the foil, pour a little bit of olive oil on it. And this guy, we're going to close it completely, just like a little purse. And that's going to roast the garlic, and it's going to make it nice and soft. So by the time that we finish, the garlic will be soft, and we'll be able to toss it with all the other vegetables. So we're going to go in the oven for 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Okay, so while our vegetables are roasting, I have a yellow squash here and some chives. And for this preparation, the yellow squash is going to stay raw. And a little bit of the heat and steam that will come off the potatoes and the carrots when they come onto the bowl would actually cook this squash enough that we don't need to cook it, okay? And all we have to do to this squash is cut the end, and then lengthwise, we're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to remove the seeds. And that way we'll not have a squash that is mushy, okay? And I have my can right here, so I'm just going to take a spoon and just scrape the seeds off of it. You don't have to take every single seed out of there, but the more you take out, the better, okay? All right. Now that we have that, since we're not going to cook the squash, the goal will be to cut it thin enough that would heat up thoroughly by the time that is added to or combined with the other vegetables. So I'm going to cut it about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch into half moons, okay? And that should be small enough that it will heat through by the time that the rest of our vegetables are cooked. Notice that I put it in the same bowl where I toss all the other vegetables, because we have some oil in there that we can use to marinate the vegetables when they come out. And then I have some chives here, and for the chives, we're not going to cut them small. We're actually going to leave them quite large. And the idea behind that is that this is going to provide some crunch for us. So I'm going to cut them about 2 inches long, and about half of the bunch of this chives is enough. And I'm going to add those to the squash. And then we're going to go check on the vegetables in the oven. Okay, so our vegetables came out of the oven. The onions were done first. You'll know that the onions are ready when they're a little bit of brown and somewhat translucent. And we're going to take those and add them straight to the bowl. The foil might be a little hot, so be careful when you're doing this. And you want to, if you have any oil in that foil, you want to make sure that you add the oil onto the bowl of vegetables right here. And we went right over where the chives and the squash are. And here's some potatoes. And they might stick to your foil, and that's okay. Just hit them with a spoon, and they'll fall right off. And those are there. And we have the carrots right here. And you'll notice that the carrots are ready when the skin gets a little bit rugged and they're somewhat soft. What we did was try some. The same with the potatoes. They'll start browning. They don't necessarily have to get super brown, but they'll get soft. If they're soft, then they're ready to go. And the carrots go in. And then we have the garlic, and that's the last thing. I will let the garlic cool down for a little bit before you do this, but you can grab the whole head of garlic like so. They should look golden brown like that. And then squeeze them into your potatoes. Know that this is quite hot, so you might want to wait a little bit if it gets too hot for you. Or you can do it right on the foil and then go over there. And you can use a spoon if you like, but the goal is to squeeze the garlic off of the clove. The garlic you should be able to smash it. It should be nice and soft. If it's not soft, it'll be a little bit too bitter. So I don't recommend for you to add it to your potatoes quite yet. You can just close the little foil pouch and let it cook a little bit more. But if the garlic is soft, then it'll be ready to go. And you can add this right here. Okay? And then we just have one more step. And all we need to do is just get this hot tray out of here. Is take the bowl, give it a quick mix. You should have enough oil in there to coat the vegetables. We had a little bit in the bottom there, so these are looking pretty good. But you don't want them too oily because it would get too heavy. Okay? And then taste them. Check for seasoning. A little bit more salt. A bit more pepper. And then we're ready to go. This will be it right here. Roasted mixed vegetables with chives and squash. There we go. Enjoy.